Hello, YouTube. How you doing? It's me, Miss J. Hello, hello. Let's check and make sure. It's cutting off my hair. There we go. Okay. My poor necklace is falling down. Hello, hello. Yes. Oh, what am I doing? I'm messing this up. Okay. Just trying to be cute. I'm just trying to be cute. Hello, hello. How are we doing? Welcome, replay crew. You rock. If you happen to catch me live, hello, Janet. Thank you for joining. I was just getting ready to say that I just finished up. The reason why I'm all dolled up on a Wednesday on church night. I don't know if everybody else has that in the Midwest. Like Wednesday is like church night. Not for me, but just a little God honoring look that we've got here today. But I was just on a podcast YouTube show called the 757 Hustle Show. It was a lot of fun. George is the host, and we just had a really fun discussion about horror movies and toys and makeup and all kinds of fun nerdy stuff. Yes, Bible study night. Yes, hello, Mama Champagne. Hello, CJ. Welcome, welcome. So this is the look that we had. So we did a fun little look. So I thought we'd come on and talk about what makeup I used. We're going to try a different lip because I was in the middle of painting this lip and I had to text to Dion and Grace, and I was like, I wasn't even done, but I was like, this is the eye look. I was like, do we do a nudie brown lip or do we do a red metallic lip? And I decided to go with the more kind of nudie brown lip. And then I was like, well, maybe I was planning to go live anyway. So I was like, maybe we'll switch to a red lip and we can see which we like better. Hello, hello. Yes. So Mama Champagne, glad that you made it. Since we're going to change the lip, is this content? I'm going to take a few quick photos so you can see a little behind the scenes of my narcissism where I have to sit and like take all kinds of photos of myself. I'm not super good at taking pictures. Hello, Tanya. Yes, I was having a little mini photo shoot, and I never have my glasses on, and so I just take a lot of pictures and hope for the best. I always like take a lot of pictures, and then I edit it down to the ones where I'm not cross-eyed and not not looking weird. Hello, Dion. Welcome. And Tanya. And yeah, Janet's here. Mama Champagne is here. CJ is here. Hello, hello, everybody. So let's talk a little bit about the makeup that we did. I don't know if you can tell. It's always super blown out, but I did do the Phase It freckles. This side. No, which side? This side you can see a little bit better, maybe. I did the rose gold freckles. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. And then we got I love this dress. I got this dress on like super clearance at Torrid, and it's just been sitting around waiting. And I was like, this will be my podcast appearance dress. And I was in the mood. So let's talk about makeup. Because we're going to talk about the palette that I was in the mood for. So I used the Polite Society More Than a Pretty Face foundation. I'm still on the fence about this one. I think I like it, but I'm not really sure. Oh, thank you. Yes, this brownish plummy kind of lip turned out a little darker than I expected, but I like it. I like it with this look. I like it with this darker hair. But yeah, so we did a little More Than a Pretty Face foundation. We also did the Conjuring. This is that blood drop primer. I just think this is fun, so we decided to knock this one out. I've been playing with this one, and I just used it by itself. And I think, especially with that Polite Society, I think that it looks fine on camera, and I think that the photos will probably be fine. But as I was looking like close up in the mirror, I wish that I had paired this with more of a pore filling primer, because with that foundation and just this primer, I still see a lot of texture. But I do generally like it, and I like the way it feels on my skin. My skin feels hydrated, and I love it. So I'm here for that. And then we did, I'm slowly but surely finishing up. This is from Colored Rain, RIP. This is one of their skin sticks, and I've been using this for contour. And you can see it's down into the like plastic. So now I have to get my little tool and I'll scrape it out and use up the last of it, but then this will be gone. So we're close to panning this. We've got that. We also used the Juvia's Place concealer. Throw that back in the drawer. The foundation, I've been loving doing this. I've been mixing the foundation with this Urban Decay Face Bond Luminizer. And this is probably my favorite shade. This is Silver Lake. I also have PCH, which is a darker, more peachy shade. And I have Mirror Ball, which is a lighter, and it's got kind of a pinky duochrome kind of effect. It's for, that one's the best for the very pale girlies, but the Silver Lake is really good with my foundation color. And so I've been adding that in. I really do like that. And there's a lot of shades of that. I think there's like 10 or 12 shades. Did a little Singe blush. I don't know if anybody saw Angelica's video today. I'm a little bit sad. She is in the process of quitting YouTube as her full-time job. She's still probably going to do some updates, do some uploads and things, but it's going to be more sporadic, and it's going to be she's basically, YouTube has been her full-time job, and she's been doing Singe Beauty in her like spare time. She's going to switch it. So now Singe is going to become the full-time job, and she'll still do some YouTube. And it's because people are nasty and awful on the internet. So I'm a little mad about that. But there's a video that I've been percolating for a while that I just have been like loosely referring to in my head as "Don't be a cunt on the internet." And for shadow ban reasons, I'll probably have to come up with a slightly more political title than that. But that's how I feel about it, is that like people are awful on the internet. Let's see if I'm missing anything. Everybody's saying hello, hello, hello. Yeah, I saw Angelica's video today. It hurt my heart. Hi, Alex. Nice to see you. Alex, hello, hello. Hello, Locke. How are you doing? So I think I've got everybody. Hello. If I missed you, I'm very, very sorry. I don't have my glasses on, so I'm a little bit of a mess, but yeah, so welcome everybody. So yeah, I did use a Singe blush today in honor. I used my brushes from Singe Beauty, and I also used a Singe lip liner, which you can't really see because I covered it up with lipstick. But I did use Ambitious Ash, I think was the and then for the lipstick for this version, I used the 2 liquid lipsticks from Cosmic Beauty. This is their new Starlight Society release, that new palette. And so I decided to mix these. I was thinking, for some reason, I remembered this being more of like a deep brown. So I thought that these would mesh really well. And I was going to do an ombre. But then once I put this on, it kind of contrasted with the pinky color of this. So instead I just mixed them. I did like a double layer and just kind of mixed them. And I really like the color that came out from that. So that's a mixture of these 2 together. So I do really like that. Big fan of those. It's a nice liquidy formula. This is the first time I've had a lip product from Cosmic Brushes, Cosmic Beauty, and I really do like it. And then I wanted a little bit of Oopie Goopy lip. So I did put one of the Blend Bunny. This is Cheap Thrills. This is one of their metallic glitter lip oils that came out in the Masterclass collection. And so I do really like that. Oh, I don't know why I'm putting more lip oil on when we're about to change the lip, but that's my life. Then I did use a little bit of this. This is from Adept Cosmetics. This is Gianna, but I've messed these around. So this is not the original Gianna, but that's just the palette that it's in. And this is one of my like customized bronzer highlighter palettes. So I used that bronzer right here to add to that cream and then put the blush over it. I was doing clearly a very like dramatic eye look, and I knew that the lip would probably be, even if it was nude, it was going to be a little bit bold. It was going to be, if it's neutral, it's going to be still bold. And then if we do the red, so I was like, we can do kind of a lighter cheek. We can calm down the cheek a little bit. Hello, Dawn. How are you doing? Let's see. Let me go up and see if I missed anything. Unearthly liquid lipsticks and lip liner. I do like the liquid lipsticks from Unearthly. I haven't tried any of their lip liners yet, so I love them. Yeah, I like the lipsticks. I think that they're a nice, pretty color, and I think that they did mix well. They don't ombre well. They do look a little odd if you try to just do an ombre of the like plum into the brown. I didn't like that, but when I mixed them, I liked the color that I got. Donna's here. Hello, hello. With Sephora, I haven't ordered anything from Sephora. The only thing that I was kind of thinking about, And then I realized that I should just order it from the website, as I'm thinking about getting another one of the, I'm thinking about getting the lightest color story from the Hourglass palettes. But I ordered the first one that I got, I ordered from their website where you can customize. And so I got the medium in the deer packaging. So if I order it from Sephora, I'm gonna have 2 that are in the deer packaging, and I don't want that. So I'm gonna order, if I do order it, I may just skip it because I have a lot of the Hourglass and I'm trying to use them more, but I realize that I have more than I need. But I would get the swan color story, or I would get the deer color story in the swan packaging, because the other time I got it reversed. I got the swan color story in the deer packaging. Nobody cares. I don't know. Even as I was like explaining all of that, I was like, I'm boring myself. So I'm sorry. Is this content? Who knows? Hello, saying hello to Dawn. Lip liners are amazing. Cool. Love that. Oh, except the fox. Interesting. Ooh, Hourglass is having, and I know sometimes they sell out, and that's, I think what I'm doing is I think I'm not really doing a very good job of talking myself out of buying it. So I'm just kind of making myself wait a little bit, and I'm hoping that they'll sell out and then I won't have to worry about whether or not I buy it, because it'll just be sold out and I can't buy it. But we shall see. We shall see. The last thing, so let's talk about the eye look. So this is the palette. This is the Fearless Holiday from, also watching Angelica, I found out that it's DedeSignature, because she met her, and her name is Dede. And so it's DedeSignature instead of DedeSignature. Lovely. So this is the beautiful, beautiful color story that I have on my eyes. And I did decide to keep it very, very green. I did use this kind of green in the inner part. And then I used this light brown. And then I used a little bit of this darker brown on the outer corner. And then just on the inner part, I used this shade to kind of darken it up. And then on the lids, I put this green shimmer and then this kind of brown, green, blue shimmer. It's kind of pretty. And then I used that on the inner corner. I was very tempted, but I was like, you know what? I don't know how it's going to turn out. And I do have to be like on camera on somebody else's show. So I was like, let's keep it a little, because I was thinking about using this as like a weird inner corner pop. This like almost blood orange red. Just like a pop of like bright red. Maybe we'll put some of that on in this live. Although I have to record TikToks tonight. So maybe I'll wait until after. I'll record some TikToks and then I'll put it on and then I'll take photos and post them. So if you're not following me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram, because I'll probably post them over there. But yeah, there was sold out. A 20% off sale. Ooh, interesting. Wait on the Hourglass. Yeah, I know. I know, because I've always ever just heard this referred to as DedeSignature, and I get it, because it does. I mean, she only uses one E. It's like DEDE. So like usually when I say Dede, it's like DEEDEE. But I guess now that I know better, I do better. So her name is DedeSignature. Yeah, so I love it. I'm loving this palette. This is not a new palette. I think this was their holiday release last year, but I'm finally breaking this out. And I really just, that red in the inner corner, you know what I'm saying? Am I crazy? Am I absolutely crazy? Am I off my rocker? I just think that that pop of like bright red, I don't think like your inner corner highlight always has to be a highlight in that it's light and bright. And sometimes I just love a pop. I do neons in the inner corner sometimes. And so I just am excited to see how this looks. But like I said, I do have to record some TikToks. I'm still trying to be a geriatric TikToker. So follow me at Janessa J over on TikTok if you want to see me struggle. I keep trying to adjust this necklace, but also the reverse on the camera always has me confused about which way I need to go. So sorry if that fidgeting annoys you, but I just love my little final girl necklace. This is from I'm Your Present on Etsy. I've had this for a little while, so I'm busting her out. All right, so let's talk about the lip. We took some pictures. Now we are going to put these cute little Betsy Johnson wipes from TJ Maxx. I was getting low, so I went to TJ Maxx and picked up some more wipes, and they had a little package of I love Betsy Johnson. I just think as a designer, she's really fun. And she's like a designer, but it's not designer in that it's like priced absolutely outrageously. She ends up in TJ Maxx a lot, so you can often get deals, but even like her regular prices, I don't feel like are terrible. I mean, for some people, they might be, if you're not that into it or whatever, you might think that they are kind of ridiculous, but sorry, the neck on this dress is driving me crazy. Everything, I just am fidgety tonight. What's happening? I'm trying to get this to like hold down the little edge of that. Hello, 1974. Would you give your last hot dog to a starving homeless person? Oh, Dion, we're getting some Thursday here on my channel. I am planning a video because we'll talk about that in a second. But would I give my last hot dog to a starving homeless person? I actually, in Seattle, did one time give my second hot dog to, I don't know if they were starving. They did seem to be an unhoused person, but I was walking back to my hotel. I had been at the bar. It was the Bear Bar Diesel, and I had had a lot to drink. Ended up making out with some rando at the bar. I mean, just, I was being real trashy. And so then on the way back, I was like, there was a hot dog cart, and I was like, I should do that. And in my brain, I was like, clearly you need 2 hot dogs. So I ordered 2 hot dogs, and then I ate the first one, and I was like, why did you order a second hot dog? Like, it's 1:30 in the morning. You're not that hungry. So there was a person sitting next to a building, and I was like, do you want a hot dog? And they were like, yeah. And so I guess to answer your question, probably, because I have. So again, I don't know if they were starving. I don't know their situation. I didn't like stop and talk because I had to work the next morning. It was a Sunday. That's the other thing. I'm doing all this on a Sunday, on the Lord's Day. Are you kidding? Like what that was, I think that was the year that I was having my, like, when I turned 40, I was such a stereotype, and I had like such a breakdown. I had such a breakdown. It's such a, sometime we'll maybe have a live story time like designated for talking about when I turned 40, but I think that was around that time. It was around Emmy time, so it would have been in the spring. So I was like coming out of it, but I was still making poor choices. So that year was wild. Oh, no Waffle House in town. There might have been a Waffle House where I was at. There was no Waffle House anywhere near in Seattle where I was at. So I don't know. I don't know if there was one in Seattle. Hello, Grace. Nice to see you. Grace is here, if you notice in the chat, on her fashion channel. Grace has a couple channels here on YouTube, so make sure you're following her. There are lots of people who create content. Janet, I know, does lots of stuff on Instagram, so definitely follow her over on Instagram. Tanya is back to doing videos. We're very excited to have Tanya back making videos. Dion does videos. Grace does videos on a couple different channels. Dawn hasn't started that channel yet, but we keep asking her for it. Is there anybody else? Alex, I don't think you do videos, right? I don't think you do. Locke does videos. Locke, if you need something that is just like calming and serene, but then some of those like artistic looks are so like just beautiful and like aspirational is probably the word. Like just so like interesting and fun, but like Locke, you just have such a calm demeanor. I love it. Let me see if there's anybody else that I missed from the chat. I don't think so, but if I did, shout out your stuff. If you have like a channel, or if there's something that you do that I didn't mention, shout it out. We're all about supporting all the friends here, so absolutely let people know what you're up to if you've got new things coming out. Yeah, let's take off these lips. Let me see, what is the best mirror situation? Maybe I'll just use the palette because I don't want to have to get my big mirror out. So let me, this is coming off very nicely, I do have to say. I don't want to take off too much of the foundation. I'm going to try to get most of this lip liner. I'm also wearing these, like, these are from the Kiss Wicked for Good collection, and they're beautiful. But these claws are, I don't know why I wore such long nails. Oh, all right. Ooh, we're talking about fragrance. The Okcha. I keep seeing Okcha commercials on Instagram, and I haven't tried it, but you'll have to let me know what you think of Okcha. I've been loving my sniff. If you like sniff fragrances, Grace has a code with sniff, which I love because that's one of those brands that I don't see a lot of codes for, but I do really like them. You can now get some of them at Ulta. And so I like the Ulta points, but a lot of the ones that I like aren't at Ulta right now. So I love that Grace has a code so I can save a little bit of money. This is unexpectedly going to be a challenge of, can I remove makeup and also add makeup when I'm wearing these claws? Hello, Joe. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's see. Have I missed anybody? I love everybody saying hello. Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm finally slowly figuring out that like I shouldn't talk while I'm actually making changes to my lips, because that's why my lips sometimes look crazy. There we go. We've got a dark red lip liner, so I think the red is going to take care of most of what's left here. But I was trying to make this decision, and that's why I texted Grace and Dion, because I had originally planned the nude, and I liked the idea of the nude, but I've got this. This is from Melt. This is their It Welcome to Dairy. This is the dark red lip liner, and then this beautiful, beautiful metallic red. And I thought with this dress, with these flowers, I thought this would be beautiful. So I was like, you know what? Let's stay with the brown, and then let's come on live and let's mix it up. All right. Yes. Yes. So we're going to use the red balloon liner, and we're going to use the, is it Pennywise? Is that the name of the? Yes. And then, yeah, I know. You can't get me to shut up. And then I start trying to do my lips, and then I'm like, oh, and then I wonder why my lips are all wonky and all over the place. All right. So then let's also talk. Is anybody watching the It Welcome to Dairy? I did watch the first 2 episodes now when I got back from my show this past weekend. It comes out on Sundays. I'm interested. I am not sure that I'm loving it. I think that the first episode, took some big swings. I think that most of them hit, but let me put a liner on and then let's start talking about, hey, KK. So Grace has watched the first 2 episodes. Yeah, I have feelings. All right, so let me do this liner. It's not as deep as I thought it was going to be. I thought it would be deeper red and it would cover up the like remnants of the lip liner that I had on, but I think it's going to be okay. And then Mama Champagne, if you'd like to pop in with what you think I'm going to say next as I'm lining my lips. So there is the lip liner. I'm not going to go all the way in. Yes, sad about the kids in the first episode. And oh my gosh. So then have you seen the meme where they changed the like promo image after the first episode came out, and it is diabolical. Because the first episode, I don't want to give spoilers away, but basically there are some cast changes that happen in the first episode. And so like the first poster shows one group of people, and then the second poster shows an entirely different group of people. It is feral. It is such a choice. I love it. Oh, Okcha on time. Hello. Dairy show, but refused to pay. Yeah. I've kept HBO. I got rid of, after the Jimmy Kimmel thing, I got rid of Disney and Hulu, which I don't know how long I'm going to be able to hold out. Now they have a bundle where you can get Disney plus Hulu and HBO. So I may cancel HBO at some point and then get a deal on that because I miss my Bob's Burgers. And Schitt's Creek is also on Hulu, and that's one of my comfort shows. So I may have to give in at some point. But if I do, I will cancel HBO and I'll get that bundle deal and see how much of a discount I can get so that I'm giving them less money, because I was giving them, I think, like $15 or $20 for most of those individually. Hello. Oh, Michelle is here. Hello, Michelle. Hello. Am I missing loving fragrances, dupe fragrances? Okay, I got mine for $5.99. Yeah, so I definitely need to find a deal. I need to get a deal. All right. Yes. So let me grab the lipstick. Where did I set it over here? So here's the lipstick. So already I'm loving this red with this look. It has a tendency. I also, for the pod, I was like, well, let's go with nude because green and red. I mean, I'm a horror girly. So to me, it's Freddy Krueger. To most of the world, it's Christmas. So I was like, well, let's maybe do the nudie brown and then we'll do a red and just see. Because I don't think it's going to be too Christmas, because I don't think that this is very traditionally Christmas green necessarily, even though this is a holiday palette. I think that it's a nice range of greens. That's pretty. I always forget Melt's lipsticks are so stiff. And so it's not... Shut up. Stop talking while you're applying your lipstick. It's not that they're... I don't want to say that they're not hard to apply. They're not super hard to apply, but they're definitely... Why are they so stiff? I don't get it. Ooh, Danessa palette, but I'm scared. Yes, I know those Danessa palettes are expensive. So like traveling with them is scary. Oh, I do like this red. Yeah, it's not uncomfortable to wear. So it's not... I don't know how to describe this formula. It's weird. I do like Melt Cosmetics. I just think that everything that they sell is overpriced. I don't understand it, because these lipsticks are fine, but they're a little bit too dry. They're a little bit too stiff for the amount that you pay for a lipstick from them. I just feel like it should be... There are other brands that have like a creamier, and I don't need it to be creamy in terms of like it needs to like slip all over the lip or it needs to be shiny or whatever. I just need it to be able to spread on the lip. Like I don't want to have to like grind the lipstick into my lip. And that's what I feel like I have to do with this. Their palettes are always overpriced, especially for what you get. I'm so sorry. Like I have been buying Melt for a long time, but I don't understand why, because I just feel like their palettes are like $10 too much. I feel like a 10-pan palette for $58 is highway robbery. Now, could you get away with $48? I think so. But like they're not doing any of the like special formulas or whatever. They're not doing any of the like duochrome. Sometimes there's a little bit of duochrome, but it's very basic. They're not doing multichrome. They're not doing those holographic shimmery shades. They're not doing really... The most kind of impact is they do like traditional kind of satin shimmers, or they do like metallics, like foil metallics, and they're good. But when you compare them to what other kinds of shimmers are on the market and the price that you pay for those palettes, it just does not make sense. And if it's like, oh, it's because of the ingredients that they're buying, it's like, well, I have palettes that cost way less than this, that you get more shades and they perform better. So if they're paying that much for ingredients, they're overpaying. And that's maybe their signature. Maybe there are people who just live by that formula. I don't know what it is. It's just, it's too much for what you get. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It's just, I'm speaking my truth. I'm on YouTube, so it's my truth. It's my journey. And I just, because yeah, I'm loving this color. I'm loving how it appears on camera. Loving that. Ooh, bought the DedeSignature palette and a shadow stick. I have not tried their shadow sticks. I love the pressed powder palettes. And Locke was saying that the skincare or the makeup is really good. I haven't tried that yet. I have tried some of the other like liquidy, creamy kind of shadow products, and I haven't had good luck. But I haven't tried a shadow stick. Yes, DedeSignature. This is the palette that we used for this look tonight. This is the Fearless Holiday palette. And now we're pairing it with a red lip to make it even more. Maybe I'll take some pictures, and that'll be like my unofficial Christmas card will be this look. I love this dress. I'm feeling this look tonight on a Wednesday. Who is she? What is happening? What else is going on? DedeSignature. Glad the lip is not. Yeah, it is a little bit metallic, but it's not like overwhelmingly metallic. Yeah, Joe, we hope you have a great trip. Yeah, a gloss on it. I think maybe we'll try a gloss too. Let me see what I have sitting around for good glosses. Shadow stick to Alex. Love it so much. Credit card bucks. Yep. I had to cancel my Sephora credit card because those credit card bucks got me way too often. And I realized I was buying too much stuff from brands that I was like, you don't even like this enough. But I would convince myself, like Natasha Denona. I am not a Natasha Denona girl. How many more like Tarte basic brown palettes is she going to put out before I like learn my lesson? And I do. Some of the ones that I have, I've loved, like Circo Loco. I do love my Circo Loco, and I've rearranged it, so now I like it even more. And I do like the Trio Chrome or Trichrome, whatever that palette was. I did like that. But a lot of them, it's the same kind of stuff, and I just end up not loving it. So I got rid of my Sephora card so that I wouldn't keep getting those bucks, so that I wouldn't keep buying shit I didn't need because I was running it up. Yeah, I don't love lipsticks from Melt. They look so beautiful, and I'm always excited for them. And the etching on here, gorgeous. I mean, they're so beautiful. The packaging is so thoughtful, and then they're just uncomfortable to put on. Like they're just, let me go back again and just see what I think. But yeah, they're just too stiff. There's something about it that I don't love. I'm glad that they don't put out a ton of lipsticks. I've bought a couple. I bought this one, obviously, with the Welcome to Derry. I just bought the whole collection. And I did buy that when they put out the pink collection. I bought the shimmery one in that. I think it's called Ghost. Or was that the highlighter that was like a shimmer highlighter? Whatever the pink one was, and then a pink liner. So maybe at some point we'll try that on again as well, but I'm assuming it's going to be the same thing. I used to love Melt, but my last two palettes had some mold. Yes, if you saw my Declutter, my Gemini 2, which I mean I've had for a little while, but I haven't it hasn't had a lot of use, and it's been sitting in the same condition as all my other Melt palettes. And that one shade was just like covered in mold. I was not impressed. I was not impressed with that. So far, I love all the DedeSignature products. Yes, I do. Her powder shadows, I'm here for it. Those expensive holiday palettes she comes out with every year, I'm here for it. I buy them. I love the quality. My first ever collab with Makeup by Torrance was using the Lightworks 4, so it has a special place in my heart. And so every year I buy the Lightworks palette that comes out. I still love it. But yeah, I've had questionable experiences, especially with those like multi-chrome pots, the like glitter flaky. It was kind of a gel, but also flaky, and that nightmare. I could not get those to work. All right. Alex is excited. Hi, Michelle. Color marks in my hand. Sorry, I'm like reading, and then I just like go into my own little world. I don't think I would use. All right. Love it. Hopefully I didn't miss anything as we're going through. But yeah, so here's the red. I do like this red with this look. I think it does play off the flowers. I love this little thing. And then the gold. And I was going to do gold freckles because there's gold on this dress, but I decided to do the rose gold. And I think that was a good choice, especially with that kind of pinky nude lip. I think that made that make a little bit more sense. Here's my little Jason. I've shown these off in a video before. This is Femme de Bloom, little Jason Voorhees earrings. My little final girl necklace. So just feeling my look tonight. I'm just loving it. Was there anything else I was going to talk about? I feel like there was something I said, we'll get back to that. And then I don't remember what it was. What was I talking about? I said, oh, we'll get back to that. Oh, it was the dairy show. Yeah. So like, yeah, that the first episode is diabolical. But I did like it. But let's talk about, again, I'm not trying to give too many spoilers, but I'm concerned because we've had a lot of activity from the creature. If you know it, you know that there's like this creature that is in this town of Derry, and every 27 years it like causes problems. So we haven't had any actual appearances of Pennywise. And I think what it is, because I think they got that Skarsgård guy to do it, but because this is a TV show, I bet he's really expensive per episode. So my theory is that I think this is an 8-episode season. I bet we're going to see Pennywise in episode 8. We might get episode 7 and 8, but I think that they're going to wait. I think that Pennywise is going to wait. And I think that they're already like going against the lore of the show, because I think that in the movie, didn't they find, like, when they were researching and they found out about Pennywise or whatever, didn't they find out that Pennywise the Dancing Clown was part of the whole thing? Because they haven't done it yet, but it seems like they're setting it up where there's going to be something that's happening. It's like 1962, I think, is the year. And I think they're setting it up where this is going to be the first time that the creature takes on the image of this Pennywise. And I'm like, but that's not accurate, because they found like this book that showed the real Pennywise. That I did see a meme that made me laugh, where somebody was like this evil creature that kills children took on this image, and this is just a guy who really thought he was doing something. Like, he thought he was a clown and he thought he was entertaining, and like, it's so bad that this creature decides to steal your look and like murder children. I just thought that was funny. But because that was like from the 1800s was the first appearance. It was like a wagon traveling show that had this clown named Pennywise, and he like took on that look and like stole that look or whatever. So I thought that was part of what they had researched, is that they had found that this sighting included Pennywise over all of these different like occurrences of this happening. So it's seeming like they're setting it up to be like, oh, this is the first time that we see Pennywise. And I think they're doing it for monetary reasons. Honestly, I think they're trying to set it up where it's going to be this whole thing where Pennywise gets revealed at the very end of this season. The birthing scenes. Yes. Thanks, Alex. I am loving this look. I'm feeling it. I love this wig. I need to get my wig lady. So my wig lady is Acacia Forgot, who was on season 17 of Drag Race. And I'm so happy for her. I'm so excited. We support her. But now that she's a Rue girl, she doesn't have time to make wigs anymore. And I need her to make another one of these wigs in blonde that's got the big like swoop bang. And then this like pulled back into like a 60s ponytail with the fluffed out hair. I need this wig in at least one more color. I don't wear a lot of double stacks. I usually hate double stack wigs, but this is like a double stack done right. Because like the brown part is a wig and then the green in the back is a wig. It's 2 wigs put together. And usually double stacks, they sit weird on my head and they like try to fall off. But this one just like is so nice, and I just love the shape. I get distracted easily. But they're also doing all this stuff with the military, and like Dick Halloran from The Shining is there. And I'm not loving what they're doing with this military so far. And they're trying to shoehorn in like, because that's what Stephen King does. Stephen King is known for that. I do have a whole video on my channel talking about Stephen King, and I do give my like top 5 favorites. And I like Stephen King, but he also frustrates me so much. And one thing that he's known for, and this part I don't usually mind as much, is that he's very self-referential. So like characters from one book will just have like a 1-page appearance in another book. Like they'll just pass through and and if you read it and if you know what's going on, you'll notice it. And a lot of them are all set in Derry. So like anything that's set in like Derry or in Maine, sometimes you get little crossover moments and things like that. But one thing, sometimes it's like, it's a little too forced. It's a little too much trying to like make things come together. And that's how I'm feeling about the military and having Dick Halloran from The Shining be part of this like military unit. And I don't know how I feel about it. I just am not sure how I feel about it. Yes, the Dark Tower series. I don't know how much I want to say about that because I loved the Dark Tower series. I was obsessed with the Dark Tower series. And then he had that car accident and all of us Dark Tower fans were like, he may die and never finish this. So then when he recovered, he was like, oh shit, I better finish this. And he like cranked out the last 3 books like in quick succession. But that's one of those, not to give too much away because I know you're reading it, but it was one of those where like I was so fascinated by the idea of it, and I was fascinated by those characters from the early books. The first book, if you start the if you start the Dark Tower series from Stephen King, I will say that the first book in the Dark Tower series is a little hard to get through, especially now that he's like added back in everything that was taken out by editors, which should have stayed out. But fucking Stephen King, he needs to like submit to an editor. Like he needs to calm down. But the first book can be a little hard to get through. I liked it, but I'm really fascinated by the characters that are introduced in book 2. So if you can get to book 2 and like Eddie and Susanna and Jake and like some of the other characters that are introduced there, if you can get to that. So, and the first book is the shortest. So if you can get through, the 2 places that people have trouble is some people pick up the first book and it's just too much of a slow burn. They don't get it. They don't like it. So they quit. But if you get to that second book, and then once you start on the second book, the 4th book is also a little bit of a slog because most of it takes place in the main character. His name is Roland. And so like Roland is like trying to save the world. Basically, he's traveling to this dark tower. The multiverse is kind of falling apart. It's a whole thing. And so he's trying to get to the dark tower to see if he can fix it. And so he's been doing this for years and years and years. So he's like in his 40s or 50s, and he's been doing this since he was a teenager. Book 4, there's a little bit that's like present day with the like people that he's traveling with, but most of it goes back to his youth. And that story gives some good lore, but it's a little bit, again, these characters that I love are almost not in the book at all. So you're in the middle of book 4. Keep going, because I do like when then you get to like 5, 6, and 7, and it like ends the story. And there are things about 5, 6, and 7 that I don't love, but book 4 is one of those that a lot of people lose it, because so much of it takes place in the past. And some of it is like stuff that you've heard about. Like it's his mom and this like villain guy, you find out more about him. And there's this girl that he falls in love with in this village. And so there's things that he's referred to throughout the earlier books that you finally get the backstory and you get the whole like story of it. So if you like the lore, you can kind of follow along, but it is a different kind of story and it is a slower paced. So just keep going, because once you get past that, then like 5, 6, and 7, even if I don't like all the choices that are made, they're much more like action oriented. They keep you in the story. So those are the 2 places in the Dark Tower series by Stephen King that people have trouble, is book 1 and book 4. So if you get through both of those, the rest of it is golden. I love that. Yeah, the first one is tough. And so you just have to believe that it's going to get better. Because the first one is that's the one that's most Western. Because it's kind of this like sci-fi fantasy mixed with Western. And the first one is so Western. It's very ghost town in the desert, tumbleweeds, all this. And you get little pieces of the world, but the lore gets much better. The pieces of the world get much better as you get into like book 2. And Eddie and Susanna are the 2 characters that I absolutely am most fascinated by. And so I'm absolutely here for it. Love those books. Not a fan of all the movies, though. Which one did Dawn say? Did I miss something? Love Stephen King's older stuff. I do love Stephen King's older stuff. I talked about this on the pod tonight. Carrie is my favorite. That's his first book, and it's the one that's the most edited. It's the most concise, and it's so good. And what I love about Carrie is that if you cut it off before the blood drops, it's like the worst ABC after school special ever. If you just took out the blood and the like carnage that comes after that. Because think about the story. It's like, oh, Carrie White is mousy and she's abused by her mom and everybody's mean to her and she's bullied. And then this popular girl starts to feel bad for her and she decides to do a nice thing and she's going to stay home from the prom and get her boyfriend to take Carrie to the prom. And Carrie makes her own dress and she's proud of it. And everybody tells her she looks beautiful and they dance together. And then they get elected prom king and queen. Isn't that like the cheesiest, worst 80s after school special ever? And I think that that's so perfectly done. I think that that's absolutely on purpose that you get that, because then she gets showered in the pig blood and it goes batshit crazy. And I love it. I love it that it subverts those expectations, because normally that story would end right there. It's like they get like elected prom king and prom queen and everybody gets to feel good about themselves. And the bullies decide that they're not going to be mean to Carrie anymore and blah, blah, blah. And I just, instead, it's like, it just gets batshit crazy. I'm here for it. It was so long. Some of them, yeah, they're so long. And then as he got more famous, so like earlier in his career, he had to like give in to like having an editor go through his stuff. And then he like, now that he's Stephen King, he's gone back to a lot of those older books and put the stuff that was edited out back in. And it's like, no, my sweet summer child. These were better without this stuff. Like those editors knew what they were doing. A lot of this stuff is not treasures that were waiting to be discovered. It's just extra stuff that didn't need to be there. I did read The Stand and I did finish it. And I know that that's Mama Champagne's favorite. And I did like it, but I did feel like there was too much. I feel like it could have been less. Yes, Under the Dome. I don't remember if I finished Under the Dome. I don't think I did. I think that was one that I did eventually give up on. I have a quick sketch in my post area inspired by the first one. Love it. I'll have to check out your page. Do you do videos, CJ? I need to check and see. I don't think you've mentioned them, but if you have a channel, I need to go check it out. But otherwise, I'll check your post tab and see that was too long. And I'll see what's there. Stand was too long. Salem's Lot still scares the shit out of me. 2 scenes, yes. I did like the remake of Salem's Lot. I thought that was pretty good. Joe, thank you very much. Yes, I would appreciate a thumbs up. I absolutely love that. Go ahead and give me that thumbs up. Absolutely appreciate that. Sorry, I have to lean in because I don't have my glasses on. I'm trying not to like rock the Professor Crossdresser look where we just, although I think this, she's a naughty librarian. Oh, let's see. Now I can see from a little bit further away. The Dome was a good, I couldn't do it. Like Under the Dome, and here's one of the other things. I talk about this in the video, so I'm giving away all of the video. I still want you to watch it. If you get a chance, go watch it. But there are certain like hallmarks of Stephen King's writing that drive me nuts. And one thing about Stephen King is that he is fascinated by like a certain type of body horror. And like not just body horror, but like body processes. If you read, and once you start to see it, you won't be able to stop seeing it. So I'm sorry, but there's always people who are burping and farting and shitting and picking their nose and eating it. And then there's always things where people are getting like things like eyeballs poked out and like squishy body horror type stuff. And that's one of the things that happens over and over. And so with Under the Dome, when I read I worked at Walden Books for 10 years. And when I was working at Walden Books, that came in and I read the synopsis that like this invisible dome shows up. I was like, I bet you there's going to be something or someone that when the dome comes down gets cut in half and it's going to talk about the guts. And I started reading it and seriously like 3 pages in, there's some like possum or something that's like on the ground. And like, there's this scene where he's describing kind of 2 things at once where this animal on the ground gets cut in half. And then somebody's flying a little small, like farm plane and runs into the dome. So they kind of put these two things together to establish that this is like solid, it's completely invisible. But that was one thing where I was like, the minute I saw this under the dome, I was like, something or someone is going to get cut in half by the dome. And that's going to be like and it was like a whole scene where we had to talk about this creature, like a possum or a skunk or whatever it was, cutting it in half. And it was this whole long thing of like trying to give the animal's perspective and how it just all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, like is cut in half. Yeah. Let's see. Under the Dome. Would have ended differently. Bag of Bones. I like Stephen King's ghost stories. So I like Bag of Bones. I like Duma Key. That came out and like everybody forgot about it immediately. You probably have no idea what I'm even talking about. I don't know if it's even still in print, and that's weird for Stephen King, but like Duma Key, I actually really liked that. And that was one where it was set on the Keys of Florida, the little islands. And it was one of those things because, again, Stephen King loves to, a lot of it is very self-referential to his life. And when he was recovering from the car accident that he got into, he wrote that because he was living on one of those key islands in Florida. And so that inspired the setting. And so then he came up with Duma Key. And I really like that because that was one of those ghost stories. And it was really, really good. And that's another thing that, like, in addition to like the body horror, another thing that he does that like gets a little grating is that he really loves characters who use foul language, and he loves to work that in. And he loves to work it in with sometimes characters who it doesn't make sense. Because in Duma Key, there's this old woman who's like in her 80s. And like he gave her this like neurological condition because she had been in some kind of accident like he was. So he gets to know her because they both were in a similar kind of accident. And she keeps saying cunt all the time. She keeps like, because she'll have this thing where they explain it as because of her injury, her brain sometimes misfires and it takes away her like social filter. But it's just an excuse to have this like sweet little old lady all of a sudden be like, you're a cunt. And it's like, okay, calm down. And another thing, so again, I'm giving away all the video. Please go and watch it anyway. But the other thing that like really gets to me is the way he repeats stuff. That's why these books are 1,500 pages long, is because sometimes he'll come upon like a phrase or like a nickname for a character, and he'll decide that it's clever, and you'll know that he decides that it's clever because it'll come up like every 2 pages. It'll be like, it reminds me of, this wasn't a Stephen King, but if anybody remembers that there was that movie with Sally Field where her daughter gets murdered. Is it Eye for an Eye? And the killer, who is Kiefer Sutherland, by the way. Sorry, I'm flashing back to that movie. But he always says, tough titty said the kitty, but the milk's still good. That's it. That old saying or whatever. He always says like tough titty said the kitty, but the milk's still good. And he gets like Sally Field's other daughter to start. It's weird. It's a creepy movie. But that's what I think of with Stephen King, is there's always characters who will like think of the, like something will come to them. They'll think of a phrase referring to something, and then they'll just repeat it over and over and over again, or a nickname over and over and over again. And it's too much. The Shining. I don't know that I've read The Shining. I can't remember if I've read it or not. I know that I've seen all of the versions and everything so much that now in my brain, I can't remember if I've actually read it. You have 2 shorts up, gathering sketches for the 3rd. Oh, yay. Yes, I'll definitely have to check it out. I'll have to, yeah, if anybody has channels, you can always pop them into the chat and let people know that you've got what's going on. Bag of Bones was good. I loved it. Looking forward to Dr. Sleep. I did like Dr. Sleep, and I think that he did a good job. I haven't read Dr. Sleep. I've seen the movie. And I think he did a good job because Stephen King was not a fan of the Kubrick film, and there were lots of changes that were made. And I think he did a good job of kind of balancing, you know, people's expectations if they've only seen the movie, with also keeping true to like his vision. I thought it was done. Storm of the Century, also a good one. Needful Things, very good. I like those, kind of creepy. Yes, cut a deer in half, whatever the animal was. Yes, he was an artist. Duma Key was about the artist. I loved that one. I thought it was so good, and it was such a spooky, atmospheric. Stephen King has like subgenres that he goes back to. So like there's like the alien books, which are like the Tommyknockers, Dreamcatcher. He's got the like the car ones like Christine and From a Buick 8, and then I think there's like the serial killer that runs people down. I don't remember what that one is. He's got the psychic, like Firestarter, Carrie, the people who have like the psychic powers, and then he's got his ghost stories like Bag of Bones and Doohickey, and so he like comes back around to certain things, and I really like the way that he does stuff like and so I like some of the subgenres better than others. Bachman, The Long Walk. I need to see that new movie of The Long Walk. It looks really interesting, and it's got good people in it. It's called Tourette's these days. Random curses. Yes. For some reason I read that wrong, and I said I thought you were saying it's called Turtles, and I was like, what's called Turtles? And then I was like, no, Tourette's. You've got your glasses on. Read better. I don't know what Hooked on Phonics didn't work for me, it seems. Yes, Tough Titty said the kitty. That can I tell you? Oh my God, we're gonna unpack some like weird ex-boyfriend trauma here. Let me get a little bit further down. So my mom said that probably why I don't. Yeah. The original still scares me every time. I do like The Shining, and there's an interesting documentary called Room 237 where people give their theories about what some of the like imagery and stuff means. Some of it's a little out there, but it's really interesting to watch. I have to read The Shining. Yeah, I'll have to read it because I think I have, but I can't remember. The Ice Cream Driver. The Shining a lot too. The Langoliers. I haven't read that one. Love the old classics. The Langoliers. Didn't like the movie Night Flyer. Yes. So let's talk about Eye for an Eye. So I had this crazy, my first boyfriend ever. His name was Andy Larson. And yes, I'm using his full real name because number one, Andy Larson is such a like generic name anyway. And I haven't seen him in almost 30 years. So like, whatever. And also, if people want like their privacy protected, they should behave better because he did me wrong. But so he was like a compulsive liar. And so one time, so I ended up staying in my dorm over Easter. So it was freshman year. It was Easter. I've never liked Easter anyway. There were 2 Easters as a kid where I woke up and my neck was all fucked up and I had to go get a neck brace. Like I had to go to the hospital on Easter morning to get like a neck brace as like a kindergartner. It was insane. So I never really loved, or I would get sick or there was something happening. I never liked it. And so I was staying in the dorm. I didn't go home because Easter was never a big holiday for me. I was a freshman in college. I was like, I'm going to stay here and blah, blah, blah. And it was kind of snowy. And I had this new boyfriend that I had met, my first boyfriend. His name was Andy Larson. And he came over to my dorm room. And that semester I had a double as a single because my roommate had gotten a single room. And so he moved out. And so then I got to keep mine as a double as a single. And so he came over and I had this I won it at my post-prom party. It was a little small TV that had a VHS built in. And I had the VHS of Eye for an Eye because I thought it was good, but it has one of the most disturbing scenes. It was one that it was just so well acted and it always creeped me out. And basically the scene is that Sally Field is the main character and her daughter, who was played by Dorothy Jane Torkelson, if you remember the Torkelsons. I never remember her name. It's Olivia something, the actress, but it was Dorothy Jane Torkelson. And basically, they're having this huge, lavish party. They're kind of a rich family. And so Dorothy Jane is home alone, and Sally Field has just gone to get balloons. And Kiefer Sutherland, who is the killer, makes a grocery delivery. And so they're like setting up or whatever. And like this party is like rich people shit. So like they have an ice sculpture of the daughter. Like that's the kind of people that we're talking about. So he comes in, she's on a cell phone with her mother. This was also in the time before everybody had cell phones. So that's also how you knew it was rich people shit, is because like her mom had one of those big chunky cell phones. And so she's talking to her daughter, and then Kiefer Sutherland makes a grocery delivery, and then he attacks her and like essays her and then ends up murdering her. And all the while, Sally Field is on the phone. So she hears the attack start to happen. So this is a time, like I said, before a lot of people had cell phones. So she like parks her car in traffic and she gets out of her car and like the balloons are coming out. They're like helium balloons and they're coming out into the air. And she's like trying to find somebody who has a phone, and nobody has a phone. And she's like hearing her daughter being attacked or whatever. And she's like rushing and panicking, and she's hearing that like her daughter screaming and fighting and all this kind of stuff. And she's trying to get somebody with a phone. And then she trips and her phone goes, and she's like crawling after it. And then you see that like in their house, Kiefer Sutherland like picks up the ice sculpture, and that's how he kills her. And then when she picks up the phone, it's silent except she can hear his breathing. And then I can't remember if he like says anything or if there's anything. So like, it's such a creepy scene. It's so disturbing. They did it so well because you don't even see all that much, but just like the idea of like being on the phone and hearing all this stuff, so creepy, so good. So we're watching this movie in my dorm room on Easter. That's how we're celebrating Easter. So we're watching this movie. He goes over, pauses the movie, and turns to me and says, when I was in high school, my sister, I can't remember her name, like Barbara. We'll say Barbara. My sister Barbara was murdered by a friend in my class, and we all knew that he did it, but they couldn't prove it, so we got away with it. And I was like, oh God. I was like, I'm so sorry. I was like, we don't have to watch this. I have many other movies. We could watch it. And he's like, no, it's fine. And just starts the movie again. What? Just like, no, I'm fine. No, I'm fine. I'm like, so we watched this movie after he like drops this like trauma bomb. Then, so later, basically, so this one, this is part of my villain origin story, because also then I was working at the campus radio station, and that was the year that we had this huge flood. It was like a 500-year flood. And so I was working at the campus radio station, and during the whole rest of the year, anytime anybody else got a snow day, I had to put on my little coat and like walk across campus to the radio station so I could do the news. Because I thought, oh, doing news and weather 3 times a day, that'll be an easy work study job. Oh my God, we had 8 blizzards with names that year. And then we had this huge flood. So like I'm going, and it's like things are getting weird, and it's like I have a lot to do, so I'm very busy at the radio station. So we make a plan to go out to dinner, and he lived downtown, and there's this coffee shop called the Urban Stampede. Now, there was a guy that used to work there named Aaron, and Aaron, I think, is straight, but was very sweet and always flirted with me whenever I came in. And also because Andy also kind of worked at the Urban Stampede sometimes, and Andy and Aaron did not get along. And so the minute I started going out with Andy, Aaron would just flirt with me absolutely, like just ridiculously every time I would come in. So I come down and I'm late. I'm like 25 minutes late to dinner. And I couldn't text him because this was before cell phones. This was like in 97. This was the flood of 97 in Grand Forks. And so I get there like 25 minutes late, and he's with Becky, who ended up being my friend. She worked at Walden Books. But this was before I started working there. Like he was getting a tarot reading. She did tarot readings at the Urban Stampede. And so I went and I got a coffee, and he's like finishing up the reading or whatever. So I order this coffee or whatever. And Aaron, and I'm not sure how long it's going to take. So I don't think to put it in a to-go cup. I just get it in the like regular cup. And then, and so Aaron starts flirting with me a little bit, and I'm like, oh, thank you. It's very sweet or whatever. And I'm usually like, if somebody is flirting with me, I can never really tell. And I'm awkward and I don't know how to flirt back. So but I thought he was cute, and I was kind of blushy or whatever. And so then he finishes up his tarot reading, and he comes over, grabs my glass, and just goes behind the bar. And like, he's not working. I don't think he's even supposed to be there. There was always weird things with him. Goes back, grabs a to-go cup, slops it in, and then like hands it to me. And he's like, I think we're late for dinner. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm some 19-year-old idiot. I didn't know that, like, this was my first boyfriend. I did not know that this was toxic behavior. I did not understand. I was just like, oh, he's mad, whatever. So we go, and I drive because he didn't drive. And so, which isn't a problem if people don't drive, but it's just a whole thing. Like I had to drive us everywhere. So we go to Applebee's or whatever. And so we go and we sit down, and he's just crabby and just like in a mood or whatever. And so then he all of a sudden, before the waitress can even, or the waitress comes and takes our order, and he's just like bitchy about it. And like, I think he ordered for me, and it was like, it was really awkward and weird, and the waitress knew something was going on. And all of a sudden, so we're waiting for the food, and all of a sudden he's like, I know those people, stay here, I'm not out to them. And so he just gets up and goes and talks to these people. He leaves me there for 35 minutes. The waitress comes around, and she's trying to be so nice. She's clocked what's going on. This was the 90s. So like, there wasn't a guarantee that she wasn't going to be homophobic, but she was so sweet. And I think, that's, so when we had ordered, there was something that they were out of, and she's like, do you, what was it? Like, do you want to replace your entree? And he's like, well, I'm already trying to consider if I have to replace my boyfriend. And he's like, I'll just get this, and then goes. So he had said that. And so then she comes around a couple times to check on me, and the food comes and is just sitting there. And she's like, are you okay? Is everything all right? Like, is there anything you need? Is there anything I can help with? I was like, no, everything's fine. And she's like, as she's walking away, I hear her go, yeah, I think somebody needs to consider if they need a new boyfriend. And so I was like, so she was on my side. But so then he finally comes over. We have this awkward meal. We get in the car, and this was like Tuesday. So there's like a 2-day gap, which is going to be important. So it's Tuesday. And so we get in the car, and he immediately becomes apologetic. And he's like, I have been so awful this whole time. I was like, I'm sorry. I wasn't expecting you to be late. I don't know. It just threw me off. The tarot card reading was kind of strange, and it brought up some things for me. I shouldn't have been awful. I'm so sorry. And then we like stopped at, I forget where we must have stopped. He must have asked to stop at a grocery store. And of course, because he doesn't drive, so I'm sure he wanted to get groceries or something. And then he comes back out, and he bought me this like kind of purpley colored rose. If you've ever seen the movie, a lot of the stuff we did revolved around movies. We watched a lot of movies together, but if you've seen the movie Bed of Roses, it's very cheesy, very 90s. It's got Mary Stuart Masterson, and basically she runs a flower shop, and she talks about this rose called a sterling rose, which is kind of like a gray purple, and it's known for not having thorns. And she doesn't like that because she thinks it's too much perfection. And so it's this whole thing. So he bought me, it wasn't a real sterling rose, but it like looked like the sterling rose. And he gave me this rose, and he's like, I'm so sorry. He's like, why don't we go out on Thursday? So this is Tuesday. Why don't we go out on Thursday, and I will buy you dinner. Like, it'll be my treat. I will be the perfect gentleman and all this kind of stuff. And stupid me, I'm like, oh, okay, I would love that. That'll be great. So on Thursday, I told my boss, as a little 19-year-old working a work-study job, I was like, look, I don't care if this town is on fire. Spoiler alert, later it was because of the fire. But I was like, I don't care what happens. I don't care if this town is on fire. I was like, I have to leave here so that I can be at the Urban Stampede by 7 o'clock, because my newscasts were like 3 minutes long, and they happened at 4, 5, and 6. So normally I would be out of the door by like 6:30 easy, but because of all the flood and all the extra news stuff we were having to do, it was taking longer. So I told her, I was like, I have to be out the door, because we were going to meet at 7:15 or 7:30 or whatever it was. And I was like, I have to be out the door before 7. I have to. And I was like, any other day you can have me, whatever. I was like, I just need to not, and I didn't give her all the details, but I was like, something happened on Tuesday, and I just need it to not happen again. So I go down, and I'm waiting at the Urban Stampede, and it's 7:15, and then it's 7:30, and then it's 7:45, and then it's 8 o'clock, and then it's 8:15, and then it's 8:30, and I was like, oh, I am being taught a lesson. I was like, I see what's happening here. I am being taught a lesson that we do not appreciate being kept waiting. I was like, eventually, and Aaron was working again. So he like brought me my coffee, and he gave me a free drink and flirted with me a little bit or whatever, even though, Andy wasn't there. God, I blanked on his name all of a sudden. All this trauma is just like overwhelming. So he was very sweet or whatever. So then it's like more than an hour and a half, almost 2 hours later. So I decide to walk in the building, like, so where the Urban Stampede is, Stampede, I don't know why I can't say that word today. Where the Urban Stampede is, there's a little park, and then there's another building that has apartments above it. And my friends Trish and her girlfriend, I think she was with Jen at that time. And so, yeah, he was also awful. It's getting worse. It's getting worse. So here's where we get to the real kicker of the story, because then I decide I'm going to walk over to Trish's apartment and just visit with her, because she was friends with him and he had like stayed with her for a while and all this kind of stuff. So I was like, I'm just going to go commiserate with her. And I was like, maybe that's where he's waiting. Maybe he's like waiting over there to see how long it'll take before I like give up. And so I go walking over and I go up to Trish's apartment and I knock on the door, and I clearly am looking a little upset. Trish opens the door. What does she say to me? Does she say hello? Does she say what's wrong? No, she opens the door, sees me, and goes, "Oh, didn't he say goodbye to you either?" And I was like, what? She proceeds to tell me that yesterday, the Wednesday, so we went out on Tuesday. On Tuesday, he made a point of saying, I'm going to take you out to dinner on Thursday, when he apparently 2 weeks before already had a bus ticket moving back to his family's house in South Dakota. And Trish knew about this like a week ago, and she thought that we were talking about this. She thought that he had told her that he had already told me that he was leaving. He had already told me that he was leaving, all this kind of stuff. And I was like, I didn't know anything. I was like, we went out on Tuesday and he was like an asshole the whole night. And I was like, he said that he was going to take me out to dinner on Thursday. She's like, girl, he bought that bus ticket 2 weeks ago. Like, he came over here and talked to me about it. And I was like, what? And so I'm just like blown away. And then to make it even worse, I am a Tracy Chapman fan. I love Tracy Chapman. And on her, that Give Me One Reason to Stay Here, that album, there's a song called The Promise. And we used to go to this little place downtown that was like an all ages, like pool hall kind of thing. And he would play that song every time we would go on the jukebox. And it's called The Promise. And it's basically, the chorus is like, if you wait for me, I'll come for you. So he had been like conditioning me to think that like, oh, if he leaves, he'll come back. So that song, like over and over again. And I'm already that girl who like sits down with a journal to write some poetry, and I put on sad songs. So can I tell you how many times I put on that? Like, I had that album and I would just put that song on repeat and like ugly cry. So the kicker, the reason why all of this leads up to why I told you about Eye for an Eye. Yeah, he's totally a jerk. He's totally crazy. Because then at some point, Trish got a hold of the number to his parents' house where he was staying. And I had some things to say. So I decided that the long distance charges were absolutely worth it. So I decided to call him at his family's house. Guess who answers the phone? I'm going to give you a second. I'm going to give you a second to think about this story and the trajectory of where we have been going. Who do you think answered the phone when I called his parents' house? If you guessed, oh, not his mom. Good guess, Alex. But if you remember the Eye for an Eye story earlier, his sister, Barbara. The one that he paused the movie to turn around and tell me that his sister had been murdered by a friend in his class. And he got away with it. That sister answered the phone. And so I don't remember what the name was, but I do remember that it was the same person. Because she's like, this is his sister. And she said her name, and I was like, what? Yeah, he completely lied. He just saw that scene and decided, like, that's the man magnet. This is why I stay away. This is why I have given up hope. Yeah. Yeah. The dead sister answered the phone. I could not believe it. I could not believe it. And then right after all of this, then we have the flood, and I just have to go off and work in Medora because I was working. Medora is like the only real like tourism that North Dakota has. It's very Americana. They do a musical. And like I went off, and can I tell you how many times I would like drive up onto a butte and just like cry in my car with that playing. And then that was the summer that then I decided to date one of the Burning Hill singers, and he was also crazy. That's a story for another time. We've been here for a while, so I won't make you listen to that one. We'll save that for another little trauma dump. But yeah, crazy. That was my first boyfriend. That was my first like queer dating experience, was Andy Larson, the weird pathological liar. And then I found out, so my friend Darren, who has since passed away, RIP, but we were talking, and it turns out that we had both been dating him at the same time. So also he was a two-timer, and he had like the stories that he told Darren were completely different. At one point he told him that he had night vision goggles because he used to be in like some secret army force. And so he was going to let him borrow them. And he's like, I didn't ask for night vision goggles. But he had this whole story about night vision goggles. And like, so we were commiserating and talking about how we had both dated this crazy person at the same time. Yeah. Yeah. Wild. Wild. Exhausted. And that's the thing is like, and now years later, after I've like learned more and researched and I know more about like abusive relationships, I'm like, oh, he was being emotionally abusive. And then he would like love bomb. And so like anytime he was an asshole, then he'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry. So like stop at the grocery store and I'll buy you this rose that refers back to this movie. And then I'm all like, oh, stupid me, because I'm 19 and dumb. And so I was like, oh, maybe he does really like me. We never got to like the I love you stage. We weren't dating that long. But we were dating because I like came out low key in like October. And then I really started becoming part of like the community in January. And I met him like right away in January. And then the flood was in April. So this was like a 4-ish month, 3-4 months. But when you're 19 and it's your first one, 3-4 months is a long time. Like it was a lot, and it was very like whatever. But we just, for whatever reason, we had just kind of known each other, and it hadn't been like much of a like going out. So we never got to like the sex stage. Thank God I didn't sleep with that guy. Oh, I mean, not that I've made much better choices with who I have slept with, but luckily it didn't get to that point, and it didn't get to like an I love you stage. It was very like casual make-outy kind of thing. We were like, oh, but just like absolute cuckoo banana bread crazy. And we used to go to the bar. So we would go to the Edge, was this dive bar, but it was like the dancey bar downtown, because I'm 6'2" out of heels and I looked older at the time. And he was like 6'5" and like looked, and he knew all the people, and he was underage as well, but they all knew him and like let him in. So when I started coming in with him, they would let me in too, because Tuesday nights at the Edge were gay night. That was when all the gay crowd would like come and hang out and dance, and it was disco night, and it was this whole thing. And so we would go and like drink too much, make bad choices. That was the semester that I took French, and I was okay. I was good at learning it, but I wasn't good at like picking it up in a way where I could just like do it off the cuff. But I could do like the worksheets, and I did fine on the tests, and I could answer questions in class unless it was Wednesday. And at some point I learned the expression "je ne comprends pas," which means I don't understand. And so eventually my instructor, the professor, learned not to ask me questions on Wednesday, because I would just sort of stare at him glassy-eyed and be like, "Je ne comprends pas," and just wouldn't answer a question. And he kind of, but I was really good on the tests and stuff, so he kind of let me get away with it. And that was one, because I was also like fresh out of the closet, so I was a little bit annoying about it. It was like, okay. And so I was always trying to put things to see if he would like say something. So like you always had to write little dialogues or whatever. And I would always write them about my husband, Mike. I just made up this like husband. And so if we were learning like stores and stuff, I would be like, my husband and I go to the store, to see if he would be like, you cannot have a husband. And he was always just like, you cannot use that verb. And I was like, oh, damn it. So he was a nice guy or whatever. But, and so he just like let me get away with kind of being a mess every Wednesday, most Wednesdays. And so just like, je ne comprends pas. Because I just would like look at, and I clearly was not processing, but because I was never like, I got A's on the tests, I did fine on the class or whatever. And he was just like, whatever's going on, whatever choices you're making, it's not affecting you too much. I just won't ask you questions on Wednesdays. So and some Wednesdays I was okay. We didn't go every Tuesday, but we went often enough that it became a thing. But he would like look at me and like, if I looked kind of glassy-eyed like that, then he'd be like, okay, you're not getting a question today. Yeah, I just looked so like just dead-eyed. Oh, yeah. So it was good. So the others, because that was like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class, because it was always, your classes were always Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday. And so that one, although that one actually might have been, I think language classes were longer. I think language classes, because usually like Monday, Wednesday, Friday would be 50 minutes and it would go every hour. And then Tuesday, Thursday classes would go like an hour 20 or an hour 15, but they would only be twice a week. So like it would kind of work out. But I think language classes were 50-minute classes, but I think they were Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and you got Friday off. Yeah, so that was, so I had 3 other, yeah, there were 4 days, because I remember there were like 3 other days during the week where I would be fine. And I would participate. And sometimes I would get things wrong. And sometimes Mike and our cat, we weren't doing the right activities. I didn't use the right verb, but I did well enough that I was getting an A in the class. So he let me go on Wednesdays. As long as I stayed and did the work. Because if we had like a worksheet or a quiz, I did fine on that. I was like the last to turn it in. Like I was a little slow, but I got it done. But it was like speaking is always like, if you ask me a question, that was why I've never been able to really hold on to language, is because I can't think enough when people are speaking. I can look at it and I can translate it and I could speak it fairly well. But when I was having to like listen to a question and answer it when I'm stone sober, I could barely do it. Like that's the part that I always have to. And French, Jesus. So French is a language where they just love to run all the words together. All the words together. They speak so fast. If another word starts with a vowel, it just becomes part of the word before. And so like trying to listen and then trying to listen when I've got like a pounding hangover. And I was just like, he would just ask. And luckily I could just recall that one phrase that just, je ne comprends pas. Like just, it was too much. So... oh, yeah. I hope you enjoyed that. So, yeah, at some point, I'll tell you the story of the Burning Hill Singer, because that was more like just wild. Just wild. That was, oh, God. Now I'm starting to think about it. I'm starting to percolate. I'll give you little teasers so that when we come back to it, because he was a Burning Hill Singer, and I met him, and we talked about the fact that he was in one of those ex-gay groups. And I was like, you're in an ex-gay group? And he's like, well, I don't think that they can make me straight. I don't think that that's a thing. But I think they can teach me to be celibate, and that's the Lord's will. And I was like, then why are you making out with me? Like, what? Again, it's like, what? So yeah, so that was a wild time. So maybe we'll tell the story. So eventually I'll have all of these stories recorded, and maybe then they'll go into a book. I can transcribe them. All right. Thank you, everybody. It is getting kind of late. I should go. Thank you. Good night, Alex. It was nice to see you here. I appreciate everybody. I appreciate everybody stopping by and listening to my crazy stories. Yeah, I've always lived by, I have a little coaster that says bad decisions make good stories. And I have always sort of lived by that. And I've gotten a little bit more risk averse, but for a long time, I lived with the assumption that at some point I was going to like misjudge the level of crazy, and you would just find me in a ditch somewhere. Like they would just like find the body, because I kind of like odd, quirky, weird, crazy people. I just like them. I feel like they're my tribe. My vibe attracts my tribe. I like people who are a little bit weird. I'm a little bit weird and I embrace it and I love it. And so sometimes I find the good weird and sometimes I find the bad weird. And, but I'll like, if I see somebody who's a little bit kooky, I like start to assess and I'm like, what are my chances of survivability? Like, what are the chances that I'm going to make it out of this encounter alive? And if I feel like my chances are 65 or above, I'm willing to take a chance on that 35. Like I'm willing, like 65 is my limit. And I'll just like, I'll be like, even if this is terrible, I'll get a good story. And I'll be like, come sit next to me. So I do have lots of weird. What? 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 Yeah, it's been my question all the time is I'm always like, because I'm so confused. And you can always, usually I've gotten a little bit better. I worked a long time in retail. I was an instructor at the college level. And so I got very good at like holding it in, but I also kind of like, if something really catches me off guard, usually I can keep my face together, but my head will kind of tilt to the side and I'll be like, And that's how you can kind of tell if somebody has like rattled me, is it'll just like, my eyes will maybe narrow a little bit and I'm like, okay. And yeah, that's my entire life. It's like somebody will do something and I'm just like, what? I can't. It's too much. Oh, wild time. So yeah, we'll tell more stories, but I should get going so I can record a few TikToks and touch up this lip a little bit. It's also, these lipsticks don't want to stay in the corners of my mouth. So that's another point against melt. But thank you, everybody. Let's see if I can remember. I appreciate everybody staying and chatting. And don't forget to come back and hit that thumbs up after the live is over. And we love Replay Crew. But yeah, let me see if I can remember my outro. So don't forget to give me that comment down below to tell me what you thought of this. Tell me what you thought about my crazy story. Or if you just think that I need to make better choices with men, with makeup, with whatever I'm doing, you can, I forgot the thumbs up, but you can go ahead and give me that thumbs down. It is all engagement. The algorithm isn't a piggy bitch. And clearly neither am I, Andy Larson. While you are down there, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and don't forget to hit the bell icon so you'll be notified of all future uploads. I try really hard to have at least one video a week. And sometimes, if you're lucky, if you're very lucky, you might even get a bonus video. Ooh, eye for an eye-rific. Hi, Sister Barbara. And if you'd like to chat, banter, or commiserate between uploads, all of my social media will be linked down in the description box below, including a link to my website. Let's just pretend it's there. The world of champagne at janessaj.com. Clearly, I'm rattled. Thank you so much for coming. I love and appreciate all of you. I hope you enjoyed this little chatty video. And yeah. I hope you're having a lovely night. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for being patient with my crazy stories. I hope you have a good night. And until I see you again, bye. And now the awkward turn off. Bye.